The universal indoor masking mandate was not reinstated here in LA County, even though just days ago it did appear imminent.
But as COVID case numbers started to decline, the decision was made to press pause. With the Omicron variants responsible for the summer surge, was it the right decision?
Joining us this morning to weigh in is UCLA epidemiologist Dr. Anne Rimoin. Dr. Rimoin, thanks again for joining us.
Always a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I believe, let's go back to last weekend because we asked you at the time what your opinion was on this matter. You told us you trusted Dr. Ferrer and you were in agreement with her decision. So what do you think about what LA County decided this past week?
Well, I agree again. I think that this was the right decision to make. We're following the data, we're following the metrics, and because the cases or the rate of hospitalization has decreased, flattened out a little bit, they decided to not go forward with a mask mandate. I think it was the right decision. But that doesn't change the fact that we still have high rates of COVID circulating here in Los Angeles, nationally and globally. So if people want to avoid getting the virus, they should take steps to do so.
You know, it's interesting, Dr. Rimoin, because I think I've been seeing some people kind of on their own without a mandate wearing masks in Costco or the grocery store or the post office, whatever. But there were a lot of people who said, if this mandate goes into effect, I'm not going to do it. There were a lot of people who have just had enough. They're saying, all right, look, I'm vaccinated, I'm double boosted, I'm not doing it. What do you think about how people, they're just done? Are you concerned about this? Because it's not over yet.
Well, it's definitely not over, and there's still a lot of virus circulating in the population. And the reality of it is, it isn't just about these metrics of hospitalizations and deaths. There is a lot of evidence, or there are a lot of data that are out on long COVID, and it really affects people severely. Plus, more cases we have, the more that they propagate, you see more cases that will affect what does happen. So, we all have a role to play in terms of keeping the rates down. But, instead of focusing on what the Department of Health should do or shouldn't do, I think that the message should be for people, if you don't want to get COVID, and there are many reasons to avoid getting COVID, you can take steps proactively. That means wearing a mask in indoor spaces, in particular crowded indoor spaces, and making sure that you're up to date on your vaccines. I think that people really need to focus on what they can do to mitigate their own risk at this point, and those are the key things to do.
Yeah, it's personal responsibility or personal choice. In some ways.
In some ways. New variants have emerged every few months, as we've been seeing. Could we be considering masking mandates in the future, do you think?
I think that mask mandates will always be on the table as we follow the data. We are in a surge right now. Hospitalization rates have not sustained at the high levels that are needed to enact a mask mandate, but this does not mean we're out of the woods. We'll certainly see additional surges here. The variants continue to become more transmissible. We have varying degrees of immunity in the population. So I think that we have to be comfortable with the fact that this is not over. We are going to be subject to many more waves of this virus, most likely. Nobody can predict for certain, but that is a very likely scenario. And so, like the weather, I think people are going to have to be ready to pivot plans, pivot activities, really suss out what their risk is, and be very vigilant on their own in terms of wearing those masks, staying up to date, and doing everything they can to avoid getting it or passing it to vulnerable people.
Oh, there's that word again, pivot. I thought we were done with that word. Okay, let's talk about the subvariant BA.5. Everybody's saying milder symptoms, but more contagious. Everything keeps changing. Do you expect there to be more changes with other variants in the future? Do you think they're going to be more or less dangerous?
It's impossible to predict exactly what will happen here. And so it's just important to remember that based on what we've seen so far, we can anticipate this virus to continue to mutate very quickly. It's got a lot of runway, a lot of people getting infected, a lot of people transmitting it. So we will see very likely more changes to that virus, potentially more transmissible, but also potentially more severe. We are subject to the whatever this virus does based on these mutations, and with so much transmission, eventually we do see mutations that could make it more severe again.
Will we see a third booster come down the line?
No, it's very likely that there will be additional boosters. So I think that this is the way that we're going to be able to continue to be protected. And the boosters that are being developed right now are boosters that also are really focused on the Omicron variants. But by the time they come into play, there may be a new variant
Right.
circulating. So we're always going to just have to be staying in front of it. I think that the new normal is really making sure that we pay attention to what is happening, have good situational awareness, and be ready to, as I said, pivot and to move quickly to avoid spread.
I know you hate the word pivot, but we're going to pivot one more time.
One more time.
Can we talk about monkeypox really quickly this morning? Because cases of this disease also increasing. Has COVID taught us anything on how to handle the response that we're essentially using to attack this as a nation? What do we need to do to contain this new outbreak?
So monkeypox is a very different disease, and it is not as contagious as something like SARS-CoV-2, the virus that is responsible for COVID. But it is spreading very rapidly in populations, in particular right now in men who have sex with men. But as I've said to you before, an infection anywhere is potentially an infection everywhere. I've been working on this virus for 2 decades in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where it spreads normally from animals to humans, and then you see human-to-human chains of transmission. But this is a very different strain. And it's also transmitting in a very different way. We have a lot to learn, but here are the things that you need to know. If you're in a high-risk group, be very cautious. This virus is spreading. It can be very painful. It can be very debilitating. There can be long-term secondary effects from this, and you don't want to be part of a chain. There are vaccination clinics that are ongoing. You should get vaccinated if you are at risk, and make sure that you understand there are many modes of transmission. It transmits from close contact. Sex is definitely an example of close contact, but it can be transmitted in households, also from contaminated objects like sheets, bed linens, towels, clothing. So something that we should be aware of, keeping our eye on, and definitely doing everything we can to stay in front of it.
Right, we are seeing children who are now, with monkeypox. So we appreciate your information and all of your insight as always. For more information from Dr. Rimoin, you can follow her on Twitter, and there's some more information for you right there on your screen. Thank you so much for your input, Dr. Anne Rimoin.